slow flow nipple. And for our earlier babies or babies that are kind of in the first couple of months, we prefer a bottle system that has a narrow base nipple and a longer nipple. So like the Dr. Brown's bottle here that we see on the left, that's usually a preferred system that I use with a lot of my feeding families, versus like on the second line there, the Komotomo or even the Avent. Anything with like a wide base and a shorter nipple can make it more challenging for your baby to latch and to have an effective latch on a bottle nipple and feed well. Dr. Brown's, and they also, we know that there is such a wide discrepancy in what is truly slow flow. And we know that Dr. Brown's has done a lot of studies and a lot of research. FYI, I am not a rep for Dr. Brown's. I don't get paid by Dr. Brown's. I just use their product, and I really believe that it is a good product. It is a true flow system. So with most of the feeding families I'm working with, we use the bottle system you see here, but with a preemie nipple. A preemie nipple really guarantees a true slow flow, and it just allows the baby to have good pacing and good coordination with suck, swallow, breathe. The Medela nipple, the Medela comma, I mean, I got to say, I do really like Medela products, but I really dislike their bottle system. The advertising on this one is really deceptive. They say that it's the slow flow closest to mom's breast. It might take the baby a bit more power, or actually quite a bit more power, to get milk flowing. But once it does start flowing with this nipple, it is the fastest flowing nipple on the market. And this is really not a good bottle system to use if you are, also breastfeeding your baby. And it does just make them drink way too fast. But whatever system you choose, you want to ensure that your baby is not just chug, 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 that your baby is pacing themselves. And if they're not pacing themselves, then you have to pace them. And pacing means if your baby's just chugging away, you have to tip that nipple, the bottle nipple, out of their mouth, leave it touching their lips, but just leave it there for a couple seconds, allow them to catch their breath, and then give them the bottle nipple again. And sometimes you have to tip that nipple down multiple times until they start to pace themselves. And often with a hungry baby, they're just suck, swallow, suck, swallow, suck, swallow, suck, swallow. They don't have time to breathe. But we want to ensure that we're giving them those opportunities to breathe, because they're going to have a much better effective feed if it's slow and steady versus a sprint. And we sometimes have to do this at the breast too. If moms have a lot of milk and milk that is flowing very quickly and babies aren't pausing and pacing to catch their breath, sometimes we have to delatch those babies for a couple seconds. It's called external pacing at the breast or pacing with the bottle. And that just ensures that whichever way you're feeding your baby, whether it's breast or bottle, that they're not sprinting to the finish, that it's more of a marathon, slow and steady. Because if they're sprinting, they're going to gas out, and they're probably not going to have a very long feed or a very effective feed. And then they might start to kind of move into more of a snacking pattern if they're always having, a little bit of like a mini meal versus a good longer feed. Okay, this is the last slide. So we're going to just talk about community resources. So for breastfeeding families, the public health system does offer really good support in terms of having lactation consultants in community health in offices, depending on what part of the country you're in or what city, town. Sometimes if it's a smaller town, there might only be one lactation consultant that works in your public health office, or sometimes there might not actually be an IBCLC, but there might be somebody that does have some lactation background. Anybody that can provide you lactation support and education is better than just, going on Dr. Google and trying to figure out the issues that you're having. Even your physicians, I know here, like in Calgary, a lot of our low-risk maternity physicians do have a bit of a lactation specialty within their practice. So there are breastfeeding clinics that are run by physicians. There is support through the public health system. There is also La Leche League. So La Leche League is a breastfeeding support group for mothers all across Canada and across the world. And you can network with other moms that are also going through a variety of breastfeeding challenges. And I believe they still meet monthly. Over COVID, I think it was over Zoom, but before that, and I think they have resumed meeting monthly, like in a community center, and there's a Lalesh League leader, and there's often like a different breastfeeding topic that they discuss each month. And you can always call your leader if you have any questions or concerns. And then there are also private lactation consultants like myself